The next question, Otto, it's from Thomas Eriksen, and he asks, how would you define the soundstage?
That's a really good question, because getting the soundstage right is a very important part of hi-fi, and also a very difficult part of it, actually. Okay. The soundstage relates to kind of the illusion of sound that emerges around the speakers. It's easy to get a clean sound coming from the speakers. What you actually want is to have the sound emerging around the speakers.
Yeah, so you can nearly close your eyes and imagine where different musicians were. You
want the illusion to have the speakers, the musicians in front of you.
Okay.
Sometimes you can have depth in your soundstage if you can hear that the drummer is behind the singer, for instance. You would define that as a better soundstage.
Okay.
Also, very often people search for a very large soundstage. They want a really huge soundstage.
Yeah.
That's not always a good thing, because you can actually sometimes have a sound where you have this wall of sound that makes a sound appear huge.
Yeah.
But then if the sound of the singer is also spread out all across the wall, then you won't have a very defined soundstage.
Okay, so you can, again, if you close your eyes, you wouldn't be able to actually position her or him.
No, she would sound like she was 10 feet tall and yelling at you, instead of having the singer placed in the right position, having the other parts of the instrument placed differently in the soundstage. So the ability to have this illusion of sound in your living room, where you can place each part of the music independently, that would define a good soundstage.
Okay, great. Thomas Eriksen also asks how you would set up a subwoofer in a stereo system.
Yes, very often it's people get the impression that subwoofers are not really good for stereo setups, and I think much of that relates to wrong setup.
Okay.
Mostly one of the things I really recommend is, instead of using one subwoofer, using two subwoofers.
And why is that?
There's several reasons for it, but the most important one is actually people think that you use two subwoofers to get more output, to get more bass, but that's not actually the case. What we want to do is even out the bass. So if you have a subwoofer in one corner, the bass will kind of fluctuate in the room. So in certain positions in the room, you'll have more bass, and in other positions you'll have less bass. If you have two subwoofers, they will work together and even out the bass. So where you have a peak from one subwoofer, you might have a dip from the other subwoofer, and the total amount of bass will be more even. So you get actually often less bass total, but it's much more even, much more defined bass.
Okay, great.